Ta-da!
Welcome to This Mystic Life podcast, a podcast that aims to look at the world differently, with total responsibility for sight. On this week's podcast, we're taking a deep dive into what seems to be the swirling mind. We're looking past change, frustration, confusion, and into the ethers of what is true and eternal. And it's really important to find a steadiness by grounding in the truth of your being, by grounding in that Christ presence. It doesn't matter if to you at this point it isn't a very real thing yet. It's a choice point. It's a choice point of orientation to say, that is what I would like. I would like to experience myself as a child of God. So here we are, deeper into July, opening to what the Spirit has for us. And it seems that we're going through a very fundamental shift, a reorientation to what is inherently true. And what will fall by the wayside as this shift occurs, it's almost like if you could imagine a turntable, like a lazy Susan sitting on your tabletop. You've been operating with your tabletop as if that's a constructed, real and set place. And you have the place you have your knives and forks, and then you have the place you have your condiments, and then you have your napkins, whatever. However, imagine that the whole tabletop is now about to turn. And it's not just going to turn slowly in a discernible way whereby you inherently can watch and track what you've known move and therefore adapt. It's easier to understand it that what you've known and relied upon is going to shift out of the illusion of your control. The illusion that you had control over it. So as the table shifts, and there's been quite a few reported cases of awakening symptoms lately in the general populace of our greater community of the course. And I would just like to invite you now to step back from the table. We can't do any sloppy leaning on the table, no elbows at the table. We must lean back and, in fact, close our eyes as this shift goes by, because only experientially can you feel where you are and ground in the truth of your being. It's going to be essential that you let go of the parameters of the known world as you've experienced it, and to release the illusion of control. And so as this symbolic lazy Susan entire tabletop swivels, you're aware that it feels, even when you can't see it, like things are toppling over, things are spilling out, things are mixing together that ordinarily shouldn't in your worldview mix together, that there is a sense of entropy and increasing chaos. Now, what's truly happening is that the mind is being released from the mesmerism of what it thought it had control over. So it's being released from the false cause and effect of the world. Yet, if that's not occurred through traditional awakening practices of, say, following the course, doing the lessons, practical application of the mind training on a daily basis, transfer of training, then the mind is going to be shocked, because the correlation and causation that it's been expecting is being disrupted. Why that is so distressing is because you have founded and ingrained your self-concept based on the supporting mechanism. Think of it like the agar jelly in your petri dish, in which you've embedded yourself. Your spores don't grow except in that type of petri dish. any other type of petri dish, any other kind of agar jelly, and you would be a different growth, a different kind of growth creature. You would either thrive or not survive within that containment field. And so when we understand that there is no separation between the persona and the world, that it's all the self-concept, then you can really appreciate why this idea of figure and ground is being collapsed. And it's all as if it's a Monet painting. It's all up close globs of colour, and though they mean nothing when you look extremely close up, they are all the same. When you step back, you can see that they seem to create ground and figure. And we are able, through the mechanism of our prejudice and our understanding and our belief system, pick out a world that we are familiar with. That's what's changing. It's as if when we pull back now, it's still all blobs. We can't really see where the structure and the function is and how everything relates together. And it's going to be changing like that to a lesser or greater degree over the next while, but at an acute experiential level over the next 2 weeks. So it feels important that if you can simplify anything in your life and simply step back from being highly involved in things and come more into that witness state of, I don't know what everything is for. I don't understand, but I'm deeply loved by one who does. And in that, still and surrendered space, you can safely watch with Jesus, as you eat your popcorn, the movie of your so-called life. Awakening experiences can come in two types of ways. They can come through what looks like spiritual development, looks like mind training, and then they can come from introjections, as I call them, sharp shifts in the reality that's familiar to you, whether that's being in a car crash, whether that's an illness, whether that's falling wildly in love, whether that's having a baby. Some major shift in your life pushes the self-concepts, barriers, and boundaries into a whole new realm of experiencing oneself. It's what we call a stepping stone concept. It's not truly your higher self yet, but yet it is a stepping stone concept in expansion of awareness and understanding of oneself from the limited understanding that previously was in place. So we're talking about understanding not like in the I know mind type of way, but we're talking about understanding as a form of appreciation, really, of your lack of awareness of how things are, and the appreciation that you don't need to know and you don't need to understand. What you do need to be clear on, and you're very worthy of clarity, what you do need to be clear on is who you are and what your function is. And when you get clear on who you are and what your function is, then you can be shown and led into whatever is truly helpful for you now. And because there are so many shifts and seeming upheavals occurring in this universe or world we appear to occupy, the destabilization is not real and phenomenal in the world as much it is in self-concept and integration with the world. It's our way of relating that's being mostly disturbed in this shift. And so if you can get in right relationship with yourself by appreciating, like I said before, what you don't understand and don't know, and that you're being expanded. You're being expanded to include a wider aperture on the world than you've previously held. That could have any components. That could have more mystical experiences. That could have more telepathic experiences, clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant. It doesn't really matter. These are all just descriptions of methods of communication. you could become an epic letter writer. There's no restriction on this, but we are very much in an expanded age of communication. And rather than getting stuck on the screen and fighting thoughts about AI, if that's maybe not your calling, really stepping back and welcoming in this expansion and this also simultaneous dissolution of identity that is now possible. So I'd like to phrase it as is now possible. Like, this is a unique opportunity. This is something to be welcomed and embraced because it's happening anyway. And I always say it's much easier to jump than be pushed. And if you can allow yourself to recall now the wonderful experiences of development of trust that you've had, and the times previously when you've stepped into a more expanded state of mind, and how your trust was warranted in the spirit, and your trust in not being afraid of the unknown was warranted. And to understand that we have a prejudice, the known versus the unknown. And we would rather stay with something familiar and deadly than something life-affirming and undisclosed. And so I think what's most helpful now, as the tabletop is swirling, is to not try and logically figure things out, to not try and track the shifts and turns of this table. It's to accept that there's an upset. It's much faster to get quickly into acceptance that there is an upset present, as that is truly what's generating this turn in the mind. And even though you may feel subject to something exterior to you, and that may be how the storyline appears, it truly is coming from a deep and profound call in the mind to awaken. And when you sink in and get very still and present at the center of your being, and a lot of people have been reporting dizzy spells and different phenomenal experiences. When you get very still at the center of your being, and you do not try to orientate yourself to time and space and what you've known and the past, and instead orientate yourself to the love of God, to the purity of the presence of the Holy Spirit, and to the warm hand being offered to you from our brother Jesus to steady your mind. You are flanked in magnitude and grace and goodwill, and there is nothing you could have ever done in the past or tried to achieve in the future that would change this moment and what's occurring. It's emanating solely from the content of your heart in this moment and from the presence of mind you bring to it. So let's sink in and steady down, grounding in the truth of our being. And when we anchor here, we can more easily feel and hear what's truly helpful than trying to look at the screen or the twirling tabletop and orientate to how we thought things should be and continue to try and rectify them in time and space. We can more easily hear the one-word answer or the feeling of a movement or the sensation of looking towards a companion or clarity about who to join with if we come into this small, still voice within and say, I don't know. I don't understand. Show me. And from here, we can most graciously be gently led. It's a bit like, as we then open our eyes, the very thing that's needful is right in front of us from this twirling tabletop. And the instruction is, just pick that up. And we don't worry about all the rest and all the happenings and how it's interconnected and how it started long ago or how it's a recent adaptation or contrivance or conflict. We are simply in the do only that of the Course. And when you conceive of yourself as a child of God, and to me that's the most expansive self-concept you can have. And also, ironically, so beautifully, one of the most readily appreciable states of mind, because we have been the child before. And now, as the child, the Christ child, in the magnitude of the identity in which we were created, we can sink back and simply be present and watch and witness to what's unfolding. And a bit like having your finger on the fulcrum point of the entire universe, with one small movement in following guidance and direction, we can allow our reality to be shifted if that's what needs to occur, or to remain the same, even if it feels tight and strange, if that's what's given, and allow the mind to expand and move into a deeper and more profound awareness of who it is and what it's looking upon. Because it's just a play. It's a play for awakening. And when we get overly invested in the sequencing of events and the false cause and effect of the world, and we try to, especially now, preempt what might happen next and how to be ready for it, we will waste ourselves and wear ourselves out and dispirit ourselves, because, again, we've not been humble enough yet to understand that we cannot know, and we do not need to understand. And yet we need to be understood as a child, a beloved child who is doing only that and following the Holy Spirit in whatever's given, like trailing after a mother from one room in the house to another, awaiting instruction, feeling the presence, not wanting to be separate. So from here, whatever occurs, whatever mix-ups and messes seem to be reflected in your worldview, remember, do not project the error to time. Do not try and decide that something happened in time and space where guilt was, and that it is either gone and therefore we cannot rectify it, or that it is going to happen in the future and we must defend against it. So do not project the error to time. The error is always simply in a mistaken identity, and it is always in the present moment from where we're witnessing the world. It is never in time and space. It is never because you missed the train 20 minutes ago. It's never because you didn't listen to your alarm clock when it rang at 8 a.m. and therefore missed the train 20 minutes ago. There's no cause and effect like that in the world. Guilt is only emanating in this instant in the mind. And it seems, this is the most vital word right now, seems as if it's playing out in time and space. And like we've either just lost the tail of it and failed to grasp it and heal it in the past, or we're trampsing around and tracing its tail and trying to grab it for a future moment to prevent the guilt hitting. The invitation now is to take the hit, to finally face the guilt and shame in the mind, to not wait for a better moment where we may have more decorum or we may have more spaciousness, but to take the hit in whatever way it comes over the next 2 weeks will really allow the mind to blossom. This is the beneficent energy, if you want to call it that, that is present. This is the beneficent opportunity that is currently being afforded, I believe, to the human race, symbolically as you. It's all for you. It's not happening for someone else to wake up. It's all for the I experience myself to be. And in that way, I can see this grand play of awakening as a blessing and as a kindness, that everyone came, all 8 billion, and all those that may be visiting from other seeming planets in the storyline, all came at this time to perfectly play their part for the mind to awaken. And there's nothing more ever going on than that. That's just symbolically what's happening. And that's a benevolent story. This is a wake-up world, and this is a call for love. And that call has been answered in the very instant that the thought arose, at which the child of God forgot to laugh. And so whatever it is that occurs for you, and feel free to write in the comments if you've already been experiencing something or what it is, because it'll be lovely for everyone to talk about what they've been experiencing and see the thematic unity in what's being experienced. It will never have been your fault. Only God is cause, and we are an effect in the mind of God, a child of presence and grace. And this Christ child has never been a body, and yet there appears to be a maya or illusion swirling in front of the mind, either tantalizing and tempting it into delusion, or inviting it and opening it to awakening. There's nothing else going on. So, ground yourself in presence and prayer and steadiness and nature if you can. Sit in the sunshine, feet on the grass, and allow yourself to be taken into the you that goes on of itself, rather than a separate identity that has a false responsibility for time and space. The form is going to seem to shift one way or another, and we can either watch and witness to that, or we can be wildly affected by it in a way that is very distressing and disturbing. Either way, it is the distress that is already present in the mind coming to the surface. So neither is wrong. Whatever is optimal for awakening will be given in divine providence. And in that case, we will be given the answer that is helpful to us. And this is what's truly loving. It's a highly individualized path of awakening. And everything has already been forgiven. And so I would like to experience myself as not responsible in a false way for the false cause and effect of time and space. I would like to discover my true power as a child of God and the blessing that I am to myself and the whole universe. And so this week's episode is really about a humble stance to get very centered and still and listen